here I am right now, standing before you free to talk. I should be 10 months into a 10-year prison sentence. The only reason why I'm standing here is because I happen to know about jury nullification and I used it.
Hi, I'm Zach Weissmuller with Reason TV. I'm here with Ed Fortune, also known as the New Jersey Weed Man or the NJ Weed Man. He's a former marijuana dispensary owner, a medical marijuana patient, and an outspoken advocate for jury nullification who's successfully fought back multiple marijuana charges. Ed, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Jury nullification is what we call the outcome when essentially a defendant has violated a law, but the jury believes that the law itself is unjust or not properly applied in that situation. How does jury nullification play into your personal story and the cases that you fought?
I was charged in New Jersey with possession of marijuana and possession with intent to distribute, but I have always felt that the marijuana laws were wrong. Opinion poll after opinion poll shows that more than 50% of Americans believe that marijuana should be legal. Taking those numbers and putting it on the jury, I believe that anyone charged with violating a marijuana offense should be able to argue to his jury that the law is wrong, and should be able to get about half the jury to say not guilty.
So you had medical marijuana that you'd obtained in California and brought to New Jersey. Then what happened? A police officer pulled you over?
A New Jersey state trooper pulled up next to me at a light. And I don't know if it's because I got nervous or whatever, but he was paying attention to me. I had my front tires over the white line, and that was the pretext stop that he used to stop me. He said that I disregarded a traffic signal because my front tires were over a white line. Anyway, he pulled me over. He asked for if he can search. I said no. It didn't matter. He put me in a car. He got a judge a couple hours later to sign a search warrant, and they searched the car and they found my suitcase with my luggage, my toothpaste, and my medicine.
They seemingly had all the evidence they would need to convict you under the law. How did you win that case?
Well, basically, I was guilty. I got caught red-handed too. But the fact of the matter still goes back to most Americans believe that marijuana laws are wrong, and that was what I argued. First of all, I represented myself. I think people who are charged with a marijuana offense should represent themselves, and I don't mean totally by themselves, but at least give their opening statement so that you're identifying with the juror. The jurors can identify with you, and that's what I did. I gave in my opening statement. I basically introduced myself. I removed myself from being a criminal and turned myself into the victim of a wrong law. And I explained how I smoked a joint this morning. I'm going to smoke a joint at lunchtime.
And we should explain that you do have a very serious medical condition that you say the marijuana alleviates, right?
Yes, I have bone cancer. I got diagnosed 13 years ago. I've had a couple operations where I've had tumors removed. The last 3 years I've been suffering with a huge tumor in my right femur, which is basically just painful. It's pain levels. And I could get on Percocets and hydrocortisones and all kinds of pain medicines, but I have chosen not to. I didn't want to be addicted to those dangerous substances. Instead, I use natural marijuana for my pain.
How much of your argument were you actually able to make that, this law is wrong, I'm the victim in this case? I imagine that would be a challenge to even be allowed to say that in a courtroom. So how much of that were you able to get in?
All of it.
Really?
Yes, it was my mission. It was a whole plan of mine. I've been calling myself New Jersey Weed Man for the last 15 years as I was advocating the legalization of marijuana, but I always had this plan, and the plan was jury nullification. I could have just easily called myself Jury Nullification Man. So to me, when I went on trial, it was like my Super Bowl. It was like I've been planning for this for a long time. And basically, the judge and the prosecutor and all the pretrial lead-ups tried to stop me from saying certain things.
Right.
I went around them, even just representing myself. I'm giving my opening statement. The prosecutor gets to say what he thinks the case is about. I got to say what I thought the case was about.
Do you think that might be an advantage of representing yourself? Because defense attorneys are probably afraid of being disbarred and other kind of punishments, right?
I think it's a must. You know, I've been telling a lot of people over the internet how I did it, how to do it, and I think that's like number one. You should represent yourself, and even if you don't totally represent yourself, you should at least give your own opening statement, because, like I said, you're removing yourself as the criminal in the matter, and you're turning yourself into the victim. The number two thing is jury selection. Some people would argue that jury selection is number one, but juries aren't like superhuman, super Americans, super patriots. What they are, they're everyday average Americans. They have brothers, sisters, cousins that smoke marijuana. On my jury, I suspect at least 2 of them smoked marijuana. I was looking for potheads on my jury. I looked the stereotypical pothead. You know, I'm not, to be honest with you. I'm very highly motivated. I get things done as long as the government doesn't bother me.
There's a lot of pressure, like you mentioned, from the prosecutors, from the judge who's going to be saying things like, you need to follow the law as the law is explained to you. I've sat in drug courtrooms where they say it's not about the morality of the law, it's not about if you like this person or not. Those are huge hurdles to overcome when a figure of authority is saying that to a jury. What do you think was the most important thing in kind of breaking past all that?
I think by representing myself and speaking for myself, I put myself into a different category. There's a lot of anti-lawyer animosity in America too. So I capitalized on that. You know, I described my prosecutor in not good terms. And I felt like the prosecutor and the judge and even the public defender were all on the same team, where I described myself as, you know, being on We the People's team. And you, the jurors, that's the team I'm on. And I actually begged them to save my life. I predicted that there was at least 50% of my jurors are going to believe that marijuana should be legal. I said that I would probably get 5 or 6. On my side, as it turned out, I got 7. Prosecutor, he decided to retry me again. And the second trial, the only surprise that I had was that I got 12 this time.
A kind of broader critique that you hear of jury nullification is that, you know, laws come about through a process, and this is kind of subverting that process. It's undermining the rule of law to just have these rogue juries deciding what's right and wrong. In some situations, it could target minorities because an all-white jury might nullify a crime against a minority plaintiff. So how do you respond to that kind of critique of nullification?
Jury nullification absolutely is a double-edged sword. I mean, it cuts both ways. Generally, I look at jury nullification as a barometer of public acceptance. There are laws that we can look at and say that are wrong or were wrong, and the public starts accepting that prior to the legislators. The slavery acts of the 1850s, you know, the public wasn't down with slavery anymore, so they weren't going to help people getting prosecuted for helping slaves escape. During the alcohol prohibition here in America, same thing happened. And that's what I think we're at that stage in history now with marijuana. Even if the person doesn't smoke marijuana, they're on the internet, they're reading the truth, they don't believe the lies that the government said. You know, the government has turned into the emperor with no clothes.
If anyone runs into trouble and finds themselves in a position where they need to defend themselves and they want to pursue the strategies you've been talking about, what's your advice? Where can they look for resources? What are the first steps?
The Fully Informed Jury Association, FIJA.org, is an organization that puts out a lot of information. I got a lot of information from them. I have information on my website, njweedman.com. Represent yourself, speak to the jury yourself, actively and aggressively challenge the law. Say the law is wrong. Here I am right now, standing before you free to talk. I should be 10 months into a 10-year prison sentence. The only reason why I'm standing here is because I happen to know about jury nullification, and I used it.
I'm glad for that, and thank you very much, Ed Fortune, the New Jersey Weed Man. Thanks for talking with us. For Reason TV, I'm Zach Weissmuller.